Well, first of all, why do we need phosphorus? Well, phosphorus, if you recall, is one of the atoms make a molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. In the picture here's the mitochondria. And through the process of cryorespiration of mitochondria will make these molecules adenosine triphosphate. We considered P for phosphorus in the diagram. So another important molecules that requires phosphorus is DNA. So not just DNA but RNA, nucleic acid. So here's a double helix now. If you look up the molecular structure of DNA, remember that DNA is made from small part called nucleotides. So you can see the nucleotide is sugar molecules, nitrogen base, and then a paid of piece stands for a phosphate molecules. Reason for phosphate is the phosphorus and one nucleotide combined with another and another like seen in the picture makes up DNA and nucleic acid. So DNA, the genetic heredity, the generic molecule of life are required phosphorus.
So let's go ahead and get into the stages of the cycle now. Here we have a rain cloud and it's raining, and what we're gonna show you is really the first stage of the phosphorus cycle, and it comes from the breaking down and the withering of rocks. You know, the rocks are just a lumps of minerals, and some of the minerals of rocks are made from phosphorus. So when it rains, phosphorus little chips of rocks break up and crackling crumbles, and that's when we mean by withering of rocks. And so phosphorus is released as rocks wither and break down. And when the phosphorus enter the soil, once the phosphorus in the soil, now it becomes pretty straightforward to the flowers, representing the producer in this animation. We'll observe phosphorus through their roots, and once the phosphorus in the roots of the plants, the animals who can eat the plants can obtain the phosphorus itself. So now that the phosphorus is in the plants, the phosphorus simply moves up the food chain. In our animation, we have phosphorus going from the flower to the snail. That because a snail eats leaves and flowers and plants. And the next part animation, we have phosphorus going from the snail into the frog, because frog can eat snail. Phosphorus is simply moving up food chain. And then we will come to the area representing the mushroom. And decomposers obtain phosphorus as they feed on the dead remains. And the animations, there's a phosphorus coming from the flowers, and there's a phosphorus coming from the snail, and also there is a phosphorus coming from the frog. And we are going to the mushroom representing the decomposers. I'm not implying that the mushroom will hunt the frog, the snails, and flowers, but when the frog, snails, and flowers die, their dead remains which still obtain phosphorus are faded by decomposers such as fungus, decomposers such as bacteria. Well, if we notice here, we also know that there is a phosphorus coming out of the mushrooms, because again, all organisms give up waste, and fungus, other decomposers, will give up phosphorus in their waste. And so you just pause and look at the animation. We have a cycle here. We have continuous loop of phosphorus throughout the ecosystem and throughout the environment. Well, there's a little twist I just want to add to this before the video finishes. We need to focus on human contribution to the phosphorus cycle. So human often use fertilizers, and phosphorus is very common ingredients, as well as nitrogen. Phosphorus and nitrogen are very common to fertilizers, as well as we add fertilizers to help our crops and plants grow better. So in my animation here, we have a farming adding a bunch of phosphorus to the crops, to the plants, and so the farmers' fertilizers will, unfortunately, the phosphorus that accumulate in the animation just to stay there off in the phosphorus was carried with the water in rains. So when it rains off, in the phosphorus simply carried out stream or down the river or to the slope of the land. And you can see the animation, phosphorus that accumulate in the body of water, and this is gonna lead to another problem. This is often caused what we call algae blooms. This is the extreme growth of algae in animation in the water, and the font is turning green because of the algae that is now being estimated to grow from our phosphorus. It is the fertilizer that stimulates the growth of the algae. So let's think, why is it bad? Well, before we address is it bad, here's the couple of photographs of algae bloom. And as you can see, there's a water area and it's a layer of slime grown on it. And here we have a lake or river completely turned green because of extreme growth of algae. The problem that causes is eutrophications. Often what happens to this little body of water, it becomes dead zone. The algae is also dense and so thick, and it often blocks the sunlight to the plants live deeper in the water and they start to die. The bacteria are using all of the oxygen in the water to break down and decompose the algae. The water almost becomes oxygenless. It becomes void of oxygen because the bacteria are using it all. So therefore, snails, fish, and other animals that lives in this water begin to die because there is no oxygen. The extreme growth of algae often causes the pH of the river in the lakes to change, and so that's another reason why the lake can become a dead zone. The point is that the phosphorus cycle out of balance and human contribution some of the reasons for that. So if you have been a green thumb at home and you're interested in landscaping and gardening, perhaps you can go down to the local suppliers and look for safer and non-chemical ways to crops fertilizers. And you can use loam and the natural fertilizers for your garden itself. That is the end of this discussion. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you.